Hello there, and welcome to the Mad Human Channel, your soft corner of the universe, where science whispers and stillness listens. Tonight, we're going on a journey unlike any other, not across galaxies or ancient oceans, but inward, into the quiet, tireless cathedral that beats beneath your ribs. This is not just a story of biology. It's the intimate, unspoken story of rhythm, of movement, of memory. Tonight, we enter the heart. Before you ever had a name, before your eyes blinked open, before your lungs knew air, something inside you moved. A flicker, a pulse, a silent drumbeat in the dark. That was your heart. Not fully formed, not even finished. And yet already it was working. It began just 22 days after your conception. A cluster of cells contracting for the first time, without instruction, without hesitation. No one told it how. No one needed to. It remembered something older than instruction, something older than thought. That tiny spark would become the rhythm that carried you through your entire life. A rhythm you never had to think about, never had to control. And yet, it listened to everything. Every fear, every joy, every skipped breath when you stood on the edge of something beautiful or terrifying. Your heart was there, listening, adjusting, beating to your story. Your heart doesn't just beat. It speaks. It listens. It remembers. Nestled in the left side of your chest, no larger than a fist. It pumps roughly 100,000 times per day, moving 5 liters of blood through 60,000 miles of vessels. That's enough to circle the planet more than twice, every single day. And yet it asks for nothing.
No applause.
No credit. Just silence. Just presence. Just the soft exchange of life for another moment. The rhythm is orchestrated by something called the sinoatrial node, a tiny bundle of specialized cells in the upper right chamber of the heart. They're often called the natural pacemaker. These cells fire off electrical impulses like lightning bugs blinking in the dark. That pulse flows down through the atrioventricular node, and deep into the ventricles. It's not loud. It's not violent. It's elegant. A wave. A whisper. A pulse in the tide of your body. And with each wave comes contraction. Each contraction sends blood. And in that blood, life, oxygen, nutrients, messages, heat, memory, and hope. When you're scared, your heartbeat doesn't judge you. It just speeds up. It adjusts. When you're calm, it doesn't get bored. It slows. It rests with you. And when you love, when you really deeply love, it doesn't ask questions. It flutters. It races. It becomes poetry. Because the heart, for all its science, has always been the center of something more. In nearly every culture, across nearly every era, the heart is not just a pump. It's the soul, the home of emotion, the seat of intuition. We say, follow your heart, not your liver. We say someone has heart when they show courage. We say heartbreak when loss becomes unbearable. But what does it mean when the very thing that feels pain never stops giving? The heart continues, even after grief, even after betrayal, even after long nights where everything feels heavy. It still beats, quietly, faithfully, as if it knows, this moment will pass. This sorrow is not forever. This storm too will end. And when it does, the rhythm will still be there, waiting for you. There's something extraordinary about that. You are listening to this now, not because your brain chose to, but because your heart allowed you to arrive here. It brought blood to your ears, to your lungs, to your skin, to the very fingertips that press play. Your body is here because your heart never left. Tonight, we'll explore how the rhythm of the heart is kept. The dance between electrical signals and muscle contractions. Between sympathetic nerves and parasympathetic peace. We'll explore how emotions sculpt the beat, how breath shapes the tempo, how memories can echo in rhythm. We'll explore how trauma leaves impressions, how healing writes new notes, and how sleep, like a soft lullaby, cradles the heart into its slowest, most restful music. But before we drift too deep, take a moment now, right now, wherever you are. Place your hand on your chest. Feel it. That beat is yours. That rhythm is ancient. That sound is proof that you are not finished yet. So as the night folds around you and your breath softens, let the rhythm continue without effort. Let it sing to you of everything you've survived, of everything you still are, of everything you're becoming, because this is more than a story of biology. It's the story of your becoming. And the heart, quiet, unflinching, has been with you every step of the way. So let's begin. And as we begin, let's first drift back. Not through centuries or civilizations, but to that quiet cradle of biology, where form follows function and simplicity conceals the sacred. Imagine the earliest hearts, not in humans, not even in animals as we know them, but in ancient sea creatures, long before legs, lungs, or language. These primitive hearts were little more than hollow tubes, pulsating with the rhythmic push of water and life. No thoughts, no awareness, just the steady movement of fluid, of essence, of continuation. Even now, hidden within our own chest, that lineage hums on. Because while our hearts have evolved with chambers, valves, and electrical whispers, they still carry the blueprint of those ancient pulses. Your heartbeat is not simply a moment. It is a million-year-old echo, and it has never skipped a generation. The heart doesn't keep time like a metronome. It's not mechanical. It listens, it adapts, it converses. It's responsive to the smallest shift. The way your breathing slows when you're safe or quickens when your thoughts do. This isn't weakness. This is wisdom. Your heart doesn't just pump. It feels. Let's pause again for just a second. Not to rush, not to analyze, but to notice. Close your eyes if you can. Take a breath. Not a big one, just enough. Now place your awareness not in your thoughts, but in your chest. That beat, that gentle percussion, that is your rhythm, and it is unlike anyone else's in the world. No one has your exact heartbeat, not even your closest relative. It is your own signature, your own music, playing quietly, faithfully, since before you ever said your first word. And still, most days we forget it's there. We rush, we worry. We live inside of schedules and notifications and to-do lists so long we forget that none of them matter if this one rhythm falters. If it stops, everything else waits, or ends. And yet, it rarely asks anything of us. The heart is loyal that way. Its rhythm is kept by a dance of chemistry and electricity. Tiny signals traveling from one part of the heart to another, telling it when to contract and when to rest. And in this balance, this rise and fall, this squeeze and release, is the pattern of life itself. Every heartbeat contains two phases, systole and diastole. In systole, the heart contracts, pushing blood out into the body, oxygenated, ready, alive. In diastole, the heart relaxes. It receives. It restores. These two movements, effort and rest, giving and receiving, mirror the very way we live. But we often forget the importance of the pause. We admire the contraction, the hustle, the drive, the ambition. But without the softness that follows, the system collapses. The heart teaches us this. To give fully, you must rest fully. You cannot keep rhythm by pushing through forever. You must inhale. You must soften. You must let life move through you, not just from you. It's also here that emotions sneak in. Have you ever noticed your heartbeat quicken when someone speaks your name a certain way? When a memory returns too suddenly? When silence feels too loud? That's not just adrenaline or nerves. That's your heart responding to meaning. Meaning lives in the body. We like to think our minds hold our memories, but so much of our past is tucked away in muscle and marrow. Your heart remembers grief. It remembers joy. It remembers the first time you heard that song. The way the sun hit your face that morning everything changed. It remembers who made you feel safe, and who didn't. Sometimes when you feel your heart ache, it's not disease. It's memory. It's longing. It's the echo of something sacred you thought you lost. But here's the thing. The heart is more resilient than it seems. Yes, it can break, but it can also rebuild, can form new rhythms, can find new music, can beat for different reasons. Your heart has healed more times than you know. In moments of deep sleep, when your body drifts far from worry and thought, your heart slows down, sometimes as low as 40 beats per minute. It enters a resting rhythm, a nocturnal dance. And in those quiet hours, the heart restores itself, repairs, reconnects, not just physically but energetically. And this restoration is vital, because tomorrow it will beat again. Not because you commanded it to, but because it chooses to. Every morning your heart wakes before you do. It beats while you dream, while you yawn, while you check your phone. It doesn't get tired of waiting. It doesn't resent the lack of thanks. It simply keeps going, because it knows your story isn't finished. And so tonight, as you listen to this soft unfolding of words, remember that each beat is not just a survival function. It's a message, a rhythm that says, you are still here. You are still part of the story, still walking the spiral, still worthy of rest, still becoming. And in that beat, in that soft thump that echoes like distant footsteps in a cathedral, there is something older than science, something closer to myth. Because long before we had stethoscopes or EKGs, the heart was already sacred. It was the seat of the soul, the cradle of courage, the keeper of secrets. Ancient Egyptians believed the heart would be weighed in the afterlife. Not the brain, not the deeds, but the heart. If it was lighter than a feather, you could pass into eternity. If not, you'd be swallowed whole by a waiting beast. It wasn't just a belief. It was a recognition that how you carry the weight of living matters. And perhaps they were right in ways we're only beginning to understand. Because the heart doesn't just respond to physical stress. It responds to truth. It speeds up when we lie. It softens when we speak from love. It quickens in the presence of someone who sees us, really sees us, and it can falter when we feel unseen for too long. It's not metaphor. It's measurable. When we feel safe, our heartbeat becomes coherent, smooth, rhythmic, like waves against a peaceful shore. When we feel afraid or ashamed, the rhythm becomes jagged, scattered, and we call this stress. But what if we called it misalignment? A moment where the story in our head didn't match the rhythm of our soul? The heart knows. It always has. And science, in its quiet elegance, is finally catching up. We now know the heart has its own nervous system, 40,000 neurons embedded in its tissue, enough to learn, to remember, to decide. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Think about that. The heart is not just reacting. It is leading, whispering instructions to your thoughts, subtly shaping your perceptions, coloring the way you see the world before you even realize you've seen it. That sudden comfort when someone kind walks into the room, that heaviness when tension builds, even without words, that's your heart. It's listening to the room before your mind has even processed the door opening. And still, it asks for so little. Just silence now and then. Just breath. Just a moment of stillness where it doesn't have to race to keep up with everything. So let's give it that. Here, now, in the quiet of this moment. Breathe in slowly. Hold. And exhale. You've just given your heart what it's been longing for all day. Not perfection. Not answers, but attention. Because attention is the purest form of love. And love is what keeps this rhythm honest. There's a reason heartbreak feels physical. It is. The nerves in your chest, the tension in your diaphragm, the ache that settles into your ribs like cold air. It's real. Emotional pain is not just in your head. It's in your cells. Your heart doesn't just beat for blood. It beats for belonging, for meaning, for connection. And when those things are threatened, your heart remembers. It slows, clenches. It stores the echo of what was lost. But it doesn't stop. That's the miracle of it. No matter how shattered you feel, it keeps going, quietly, faithfully, one beat after the next, because it knows that healing isn't about going back. It's about building forward. New rhythms, new beginnings, new music. So many cultures, across time and continents, have woven the heart into their stories. The sacred lotus of Hinduism, blooming from the heart chakra, the heart of Anubis, weighed against truth. The flaming heart of Christian saints, pierced yet burning bright. Even in modern poetry and art, we draw hearts not as they truly are, but as they feel, soft curves, pointed base, cradled center. Why? Because the anatomical truth is less important than the emotional one. We feel the heart in ways that can't be mapped or dissected. Pulses not just with blood, but with memory, with desire, with fear, with joy, with home. And tonight, as you rest, as your thoughts soften and your breath deepens, I invite you to listen, not to me, not to your mind, but to that small, steady drummer inside your chest. That's your rhythm, your story, still unfolding, still rising, still returning to itself with every beat. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not too late. You are exactly on time, because your heart has never stopped believing in you, and neither have I. And now, let us step softly into one of the most beautiful truths the heart holds, that it does not beat alone. Not really, because when you're close to someone, emotionally or physically, your heart can begin to synchronize with theirs. A mother and child, two people in love, even a group sitting in shared silence. Their heart rates begin to align, their rhythms weaving an invisible thread between them. A symphony without conductor, a connection without words. This is not just poetry. It's measurable. Researchers have recorded the astonishing truth that two hearts in close proximity can entrain, matching rhythms like dancers falling into step, not by force, but by feeling. And that tells us something profound. That connection is biological. That empathy isn't abstract. That your body knows when it's safe, when it's seen, when it's understood. Your heart has always known. That's why the presence of someone calm can calm you. Why panic spreads like fire, but so does peace. That's why love doesn't need loud declarations. Sometimes the quiet of shared breath is enough. Two hearts saying, I'm here. I hear you. I feel it too. Even strangers sitting together in meditation have shown this mysterious alignment. And what does that tell us? That your heartbeat, that ancient drum, isn't just keeping your story alive. It's contributing to a shared rhythm, to something wider, a human music that transcends language, place, even time. So perhaps the world doesn't need louder voices. Perhaps it needs quieter hearts, listening more, aligning more, beating gently beside one another. Let's also not forget the strange and tender truth. The heart can be influenced by memory alone. You don't need to be in someone's arms to feel their pulse. Think of someone you've lost, someone you loved, someone you still carry. Feel how your chest tightens, how your breath shallows, how your heart responds. That's not imagination. That's the enduring imprint of connection. Love leaves a rhythm behind, and we walk through life humming those remembered rhythms. Sometimes in tears, sometimes in joy, sometimes in silence so deep it aches. But even pain, when honored gently, finds rhythm. The slow ache of healing, the returning steadiness after grief's storm, the beat that says you're still here, you're still trying, you're still worthy of love. There is also something sacred in stillness. In the quiet hours when your body slows and your thoughts drift like smoke in a moonlit room, your heart continues. Not because it must, because it chooses to. Trusts that the dawn is coming. Trusts that breath will return. Trusts you. And in that trust you are held. Think of how strange and beautiful it is that the heart begins beating before you are born, and will be the last to stop when you leave this life. It is both your first yes and your final farewell. And in between, all the laughter, all the heartbreaks, all the dreams you dared to chase and the ones you thought you missed, the heart witnessed it all, carried it all, responded to it all, and never once judged you for any of it. That is devotion. That is grace. And yet we so rarely stop to say thank you, to place a hand over our chest and say, I see you. I feel you. Thank you for never giving up on me. So maybe tonight, before sleep takes you, you will do just that. Now, let's gently imagine a world where everyone walked a little more slowly, spoke a little more softly, placed their hands on their hearts when they listened, not out of habit, but out of presence. A world where we learned to hear each other's rhythms before rushing to respond, where conflict gave way to compassion, where anger softened into understanding because we remembered everyone is carrying something they don't have words for. That's the wisdom of the heart. It speaks in pulses, not pronouncements. In tempo, not titles. In silence, not slogans. You don't need to earn your worth. You don't need to fix what never broke. You are rhythmic, alive, becoming. You are a part of the human drumbeat that goes back further than memory and will echo forward beyond imagination. Tonight, your heart doesn't need to do more. It simply needs to be heard, held, honored. So let it rest. Let it find its nighttime rhythm. Let the softness return. And tomorrow, when you wake, it will be there, waiting, beating, offering you once again the miracle of now. Your heart is not only a muscle. It is a metronome of meaning, a compass made of flesh, a lifelong companion that speaks in silence. In an age of noise, notifications, alarms, pings, and demands, it still hums along quietly beneath it all, asking no questions, demanding no praise. And yet, it's always listening. To your stress, to your joy, to the way you tense your shoulders when you're worried and the way you sigh when relief finally arrives. It adjusts to your pace even when you're not aware of it. It speeds up when you're excited, pauses when you're scared. It adapts to your environment like an orchestra tuning itself on instinct. The heart, more than any part of you, knows how to listen. And perhaps that's what we've forgotten most, how to listen back. Not just to each other, but to ourselves. Because if we slowed down long enough, if we placed a hand gently to our chest and listened without judgment, we might hear the rhythm not just of a body surviving, but of a soul speaking. I'm still here. I'm still beating. I still believe in you, even when the world feels overwhelming, even when the pressure builds, even when you're certain you've failed in some quiet, unforgivable way. The heart continues, not because it has to, but because it knows you're still becoming, that you're not a finished product, that you are, in every breath, still unfolding. We often associate the heart with love. But love, too, has many rhythms. There's the fast flutter of infatuation, the heady rush of a new beginning. But there's also the steady pulse of enduring love, the kind that stays through ordinary days, through illness, through change. There's the ache of heartbreak, when the rhythm stutters, not just in sorrow but in readjustment. And there's the quiet, grounding beat of self-love, the hardest rhythm to find, yet the most important one to hold. And all of this lives in you, right now. As you listen, as you breathe, as you allow yourself to feel, not just think. We often think wisdom comes from the mind, but true knowing, deep, intuitive knowing comes from the body, from the chest, from the place where emotion and rhythm meet. When you said goodbye and meant it, when you held someone who was falling apart, when you stood up for something even though your voice trembled, that wasn't logic, that was heart. And in a world that so often prizes productivity over presence, may you remember that your value is not in how fast you move, or how much you do, or how loud you are, but in the sincerity of your rhythm, in the authenticity of your beat, in the way your heart shows up even when no one's watching. You are a quiet miracle, a gentle rhythm in a chaotic world, and that is no small thing. So tonight, let that rhythm soothe you. Let it cradle you as you drift into rest. Because even in sleep, your heart continues its sacred task, holding space for your becoming, beating the drum of your story, whispering always, you are loved, you are worthy, you are here. And that is enough, more than enough. And so we continue deeper now into the rhythm that is not just yours, but ancient, eternal, shared. Because your heart, as unique as it is, does not beat in isolation. It follows patterns laid down long before you were born. It follows the moon, the tides, the circadian pulse of Earth itself. Even before clocks and calendars, our ancestors measured time by the beat of their own bodies. The drum of the heart was the first instrument. And in the stillness of night, in jungles, in deserts, in caves, it echoed quietly beneath firs and firelight. Your heart is older than your name, older than your thoughts. It speaks a language older than words, one of rhythm, presence, instinct. A language that trees understand, that wolves feel in the silence of a hunt, that whales carry across the cold ocean depths. In that way, you are not separate from nature. You are its echo, its expression, this continuation. Even now, modern and weary and surrounded by glowing screens, your heartbeat still follows the rise and fall of sunlight. It slows as dusk falls. It calms when you breathe deeply, when you step into a forest, when you hear rain tapping against the roof. These aren't coincidences. This is your biology remembering its place in the great symphony. Remembering the rhythm of roots, rivers, winds, is why you feel peace not from achievement, but from stillness. And when you feel disconnected, when life becomes noise and pressure and endless doing, your heart waits, patiently, softly, waiting for you to return, to place your hand on your chest, to remember that you are not a machine. You are a rhythm, a pattern written by starlight and rain and generations of becoming. And like every rhythm, you need space between the notes, rest between the efforts, silence between the storms. Your heart is not meant to race forever. It is meant to rise and fall, to contract and release, to give and to receive. Just like you. Let that sink in. You are allowed to rest. Not just collapse, not just burn out, but truly rest. Because rest is not weakness. It is rhythm. And rhythm is life. And what about the emotional heart? That invisible space we point to when we say, I feel it here? Science may map the electrical pulses and chambers, but humans know the metaphor. We say heartbroken, hearted, with all my heart, because we know what it feels like to carry emotions not in the mind, but in the chest. Grief like a weight, joy like a flutter, fear like a thud. That's not poetic exaggeration. That's embodied truth. The heart records what the mind forgets. The first time someone made you feel seen, the pain of rejection, the warmth of being held. Your heart remembers. It adjusts its rhythm not just to biology but to meaning. And perhaps that's the greatest miracle. That a muscle barely the size of a fist can carry such a vast story. Your story. The one only you can live. Only you can feel. Only you can beat forward. So tonight, may you honor that story. May you place your hand over your chest and say, thank you. Thank you for carrying me when I forgot how to carry myself. Thank you for whispering, keep going. Even when I didn't know where I was headed. And tomorrow, may you listen to its cues. Drink water when it's thirsty. Breathe deeply when it's tense. Laugh more. Cry when you need to. And above all, let the rhythm guide you home to yourself. Because the heart knows, even when you don't. And it will keep knowing, beat after beat, until your very last breath. Even then, perhaps its rhythm will linger, etched into the lives you touched, the kindness you gave, the moments you truly showed up. Quiet echo, still beating, still remembered. And so the story flows on, through chambers of history and lifetimes of memory, through vessels both literal and mythic. Because the heart doesn't just beat in humans. It has echoed through millions of years of evolution, shaped by nature's quiet hand into forms that fit the wild rhythm of survival. Long before humans, the earliest creatures carried simple hearts, nothing more than tubes that pulsed fluid in waves. And yet, that pulse was everything. It was life. The first heartbeat on this planet may have sounded in a soft-bodied worm, buried deep in the ocean floor. No audience, no applause, just rhythm, just purpose, just being. From there, evolution sculpted the heart in magnificent ways. In fish, a two-chambered loop that swirled with cold, blue blood. In reptiles, a third chamber added, making room for complexity. And in mammals, including us, for sacred rooms, atria and ventricles, each with their own role, each with their own music. You carry inside you a masterpiece of adaptation, a cathedral of movement built on the blueprint of ancestors long forgotten. Birds, too, with hearts that beat twice as fast as ours, remind us what it means to live fully. A hummingbird's heart can flutter more than 1,000 times per minute. Imagine that, a blur of survival, of sugar, of flight. And still, even in its chaos, the rhythm remains sacred, trusted, known. Even now, within our chests, this ancient inheritance ticks onward. Beat by beat, it reminds us, you are connected to everything that has ever breathed. You are not an island. You are a bridge. And across cultures, this bridge, the heart, has always been more than a pump. To the Egyptians, the heart was the seat of the soul. In their sacred Book of the Dead, the heart was weighed after death, not the brain, to measure one's truth. To the Chinese, the heart was the emperor of the body, guiding emotion and decision with balanced wisdom. In Vedic traditions, it is the anahata, the unstruck sound, the center of love and compassion that hums beneath all experience. Even in modern science, where measurements and machines map every signal, the mystery remains. The heart has its own little brain, a network of neurons capable of feeling, of remembering. Scientists call it the heart's intrinsic nervous system, but poets have always known. You feel with your heart. You remember with your chest. You hurt and heal from the same center. When you lose someone, it aches there. When you fall in love, it soars there. When you laugh, it expands. When you panic, it races. No instruction needed. No explanation required. The body just knows. And that knowing, quiet, embodied, timeless, is what connects us all. Because no matter where you're from, no matter your language or history or dreams, we all carry this rhythm. We all come into the world with a heart that starts beating before we're even born, and we all leave when it finally rests. In between, that rhythm is our guide, and it's not perfect. It stumbles sometimes, skips, races, slows, but that imperfection, that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it human. You've had moments, haven't you, when you felt your heart in your throat, when it told you to leap, or stay, or speak, or listen. Trust those moments. They are your compass, your melody, your truth. Because the mind will second guess. It will run in circles, build walls, hesitate. But the heart simply knows. So tonight, as you lay your head down, let that rhythm remind you that you are more than thoughts, more than tasks, more than everything the world expects you to be. You are a rhythm. You are a pulse. You are a song that cannot be duplicated. And just like every good song, you deserve to be heard, to be felt, to be honored. Let the day fall away now. Let the stories settle. Let your breath align with that quiet beat. Inhale, exhale, thump, thump, and feel it carrying you gently into rest. Your heart has done enough today, and so have you, and so we drift further inward, into that sacred space where science softens into story, where anatomy begins to shimmer with meaning, and where the heart is no longer just a pump, but a lantern, a soft light, a quiet teacher. Let's sit with that for a moment, the idea that your heart, this fist-sized organ, is also a keeper of memory. Not in words, not in images, but in rhythm, in resonance, in the way it changes its beat in response to presence, to silence, to sorrow, to love. Have you ever noticed how your heart races in anticipation, even when your mind insists you're calm, or how it calms instantly when someone you trust places a hand on your back? That's the body's wisdom at work, an intelligence that doesn't need translation, only attention. In moments of heartbreak, we say, "It hurts here," and press our chest. That ache is real. Scientists have studied it. It's called broken heart syndrome or stress cardiomyopathy. The body literally responds to emotional loss with a change in heart function. The ancient poets were right all along. Emotions don't just live in the mind. They echo through the blood. And when you fall in love, it's not just metaphor that says your heart flutters. The hormone cocktail of oxytocin, dopamine, and adrenaline causes the actual heart to speed up, skip, respond. It dances just like you do. This rhythm of the heart is not just reaction, it's reflection. It mirrors what we feel quietly and without judgment. And sometimes, it speaks louder than we expect. There are stories, real stories, of heart transplant recipients who suddenly acquire strange new preferences. A love for a food they never liked. A change in personality. A sudden memory that doesn't feel like theirs. Science is still exploring this cautiously, skeptically. But those stories, they hint at something remarkable. That the heart may carry more than blood. That it may hold memory, imprint, even identity. What would it mean if parts of your story were written not in thought but in rhythm? What would it mean if your ancestors, your traumas, your joys were carried forward in pulses and patterns? Epigenetics tells us that emotional experience can mark genes, that fear or safety or survival can ripple down through generations. And what is the heart, if not the conductor of that story? Your rhythm is inherited, but it's also yours to shape. You can soothe a racing heart with slow breath. You can strengthen it with movement. You can soften it with laughter. You can heal it with love. The rhythm is both a legacy and an offering, a past and a future. And in the stillest hours of night, when the world has quieted and your thoughts have wandered, your heart remains. Constant, anchored, present, beating not for the world, not for your job, not for your reputation, but for you, because you are worth that rhythm. You are worth that steady pulse in the dark. You are worth the thousands of beats that carry you from day to night and back again. You don't have to earn them. You don't have to prove your worth to the muscle inside your chest. It just loves you, without condition, without pause. It's a miracle we forget to honor, a miracle we carry every day. And in some cultures, when someone dies, they don't say the heart stopped. They say, her rhythm returned to the earth. Isn't that beautiful? That we might imagine our last beat not as an end, but as a return. To the soil, to the sky, to the soundless thrum beneath all things. Your heart, in this life, is not just yours. Connects you to the people you love, to those you've lost, to those you've yet to meet. And even now, as you rest, someone else's heart may be sinking with yours. Partner, parent, a friend far away, a stranger you passed earlier today. The science of heart rate variability suggests we subtly tune to one another. Empathy changes our pulse. Presence changes our pace. The human heart is not a machine. It's a conversation, a harmony, a dance. And it keeps going even when you're asleep, even when you're unsure, even when you feel lost. It holds you, not just in function but in faith. So let yourself relax into that faith. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath deepen. Let the day dissolve into rhythm, into rest, into peace. Even before you took your first breath, your heart was already beating. In the quiet darkness of the womb, it formed before your limbs, before your brain, before your voice. It began as a tiny flicker, just a cluster of cells pulsing with intention. And then, miraculously, it organized itself into a rhythm. Your first music, your first language. The fetal heartbeat can be heard as early as 6 weeks after conception, a soft thump-thump within the growing silence. And for months, your heart beat not only in response to your own growth, but in conversation with another, the heart of your mother. 2 rhythms, dancing in parallel, a duet of life. This first rhythm shaped your world. Studies show that newborns recognize and respond to their mother's heartbeat, an ancient comfort, an anchor. And as you grew, your heart responded to sound, to lullabies, to voices, even to stories. You were, from the very beginning, a creature of rhythm. And so, it makes sense that we carry that sensitivity forward, that we find comfort in steady beats, in music, in repetition, in lullabies and mantras and the tap of rain on a roof. These things don't just calm the mind. They calm the heart. They slow the rhythm. They return us to a more ancient pace, the pace of safety, of connection, of belonging. That's why music has always been sacred. Across every culture, in every time, people have used rhythm to feel closer to something bigger, to the divine, to the earth, to each other. Drums mimic the heart. Chants mimic the breath. Even in our most advanced technology, rhythm is everything. The metronome that guides a musician. The beats per minute in a favorite song. The pulse behind a film score. The tension of a moment, measured in sound. When composers write music meant to stir emotion, they often align it with heart-like tempos. Resting, rising, racing. They aren't just playing notes. They're playing your biology. And when you feel moved by a song, it's not just in your ears. It's in your chest. Your heart synchronizes. It listens. It remembers, and perhaps that's why we turn to music in our most emotional moments, at weddings, at funerals, at goodbyes, When words fail, rhythm remains. Even poets, through time, have leaned into this. The meter of a line, the pause, the pulse, the way a verse breathes. Shakespeare, Rumi, Tagore, each of them knew the heart was listening. Each of them wrote not just for the eye, but for the beat within. And the ancient world understood this connection deeply. In Mesopotamia, heart amulets were worn to protect against sorrow. In the Aztec tradition, warriors offered their hearts to the gods, believing it was the most sacred gift. The Egyptians, as you may recall, believed your heart would be weighed in the afterlife. Not for its shape, but for its truth. They weren't measuring function. They were measuring feeling. That's why the heart appears in so many myths. The wounded heart, the brave heart, the open heart, the stolen heart, the broken one. These aren't just metaphors. They are maps, ways of tracing our most human experience. And even now, in modern times, the language persists. We say we pour our heart out. We say something warms the heart. We speak of someone being heartless. And though we know the brain makes decisions, the heart still carries the moral weight. It still whispers louder when truth is near. Science may call it biofeedback. Psychology may call it emotional intelligence. But across the centuries, across every language, it has always been this: the heart knows. And yet, how fragile it can feel. We feel its skips and stumbles, the flutters of anxiety, the racing of excitement, the ache of grief. And when something changes, when our heart skips too many beats or races too fast, we feel vulnerable, mortal, aware. And that awareness, strange as it sounds, is also a gift, because it reminds us we're alive. It reminds us that our time here is finite, and therefore sacred. It reminds us to slow down, to feel, to love, to listen. And in moments of stillness, like now, as you let this story move gently through you, that rhythm becomes an invitation. Not to do more, not to fix yourself, but to simply be, to trust the pace of your own becoming, to soften into your own skin, to let the rhythm guide you back home. As you grow older, your heart changes not just in form, but in feeling. As a child, your heart beats fast, quick, light, like laughter. It's tuned to exploration, to play, to every bounding step. The world is new, and so the rhythm is bright, curious, rapid. You fall, you cry, you laugh again, all in a matter of minutes, and your heart follows, echoing each emotional swing with its own musical score. But as adolescence blooms, so does complexity. The heart doesn't just pump faster because you're running. It races because you're nervous, because you're falling in love, because someone said something that pierced you. It starts to learn the language of metaphor. It begins to carry weight, not physical weight, but emotional gravity. And with every heartbreak, every crush, every moment you feel seen or unseen, the rhythm shifts, slows, speeds, lingers. By adulthood, your heart has become both a historian and a mapmaker. It remembers what scared you, what thrilled you, who made you feel safe. It carries a memory of touch, of a warm hand, of a final goodbye, of the way someone looked at you when you needed it most. And while your conscious mind may forget, the body remembers. The heart remembers. Medical science can now tell us that chronic stress, loneliness, and even grief can literally change the shape of the heart. They call it remodeling, as if your sorrow redesigned the walls, as if your longing left an imprint. And yet the heart is resilient. It adapts, it rebuilds, it reopens, and through love it expands, not just metaphorically but physically. When you hug someone you love, when you listen to someone share their pain, your heart releases chemicals that soothe inflammation, that ease blood flow, that repair tissue. Love, it turns out, is medicine. Real medicine. Your body heals in its presence. Your rhythm smooths, the arrhythmias quiet, and the pattern realigns. Even fear has its role. Fear teaches the heart to pay attention. That racing pulse you feel when danger is near, it's not just panic, it's preparation. Your heart is sending blood to your limbs, preparing you to run, to move, to survive. That's not weakness. That's legacy. That's the wisdom of every ancestor who outran fire, storm, predator. The heart is your compass, your protector, your translator of emotion. And you are not alone in this. Every creature with a heart knows some version of this rhythm. The blue whale's heart beats only once every 10 seconds. Slow, thunderous, calm. A hummingbird's heart flutters over 1,000 times a minute, urgent, electric, alive. And yet the essence is the same. A pulse, a beat, a signal that says, I am here. I am alive. Imagine that. Imagine a forest at dusk. Somewhere, beneath the soil, a fox's heart is beating quietly. A deer lifts its head, heart racing. In the trees, an owl's chest expands with breath. Even the leaves shimmer in wind, echoing rhythm. Life in every direction moves to a beat. And you, right now, in your stillness, you are part of that. Connected by rhythm, anchored by breath. And even when you feel alone, your heart is in dialogue with the world. With music, with movement, with memory, even with silence. Because silence, too, has rhythm. The pause between heartbeats, the breath between words, the quiet that comes after grief, the stillness that follows awe. These are not absences. They are spaces, sacred spaces, where the heart recalibrates, where the soul remembers. So tonight, as you lie still, know this: your heart is not a machine. It is a poem, written in blood and light and history. It does not rush you. It does not judge you. It simply beats, steady, present, true. Let's step into the dream-laced mythology that wraps around the human heart. The stories older than science, whispered long before medicine gave the heart chambers and valves and Latin names. In ancient times, people believed the heart held not just emotion, but the very soul. In Sanskrit, the heart is hridaya, the place where giving and receiving flow together. In Chinese medicine, the heart is the monarch, the emperor of the body, housing the shin. Your spirit, your consciousness, your awareness of beauty. In Egyptian myth, the heart was weighed against the feather of truth. If your heart was heavy with wrongdoing, you could not pass into the afterlife. It wasn't your mind that was judged. It was your rhythm, your pulse, your pattern of being. Across thousands of years, the heart has been center, not only of blood, but of wisdom. Ancient Greek philosophers believed the heart created thoughts, not the brain. Aristotle called it the seat of intelligence, courage, and emotion. And maybe he wasn't entirely wrong. Because even now, in a world of MRIs and microchips, we feel truth in our chest. We say, my heart told me. We touch our chest when we speak sincerely. Our instinct still points here, between the ribs, beneath the skin, toward the beat we cannot control but always feel. And in that chest lives a mystery we're still only beginning to understand. Did you know your heart has its own nervous system? About 40,000 neurons, forming what scientists call the heart brain. This mini-brain communicates with your real brain, not the other way around. Can sense, can learn, can remember. Your heart can detect sadness before your mind does, can recognize fear even before your thoughts catch up. It's been shown to adjust your hormones, your breathing, even your decisions, all in milliseconds, all through rhythm. This is why people who meditate, who practice gratitude, who pause to reflect, often show more coherent heart rhythms, patterns that are smoother, more harmonious. Their hearts don't just beat, they resonate. And those resonant patterns ripple outward, affecting others. Your heartbeat can literally sync with someone else's. Lovers lying next to each other at night often find their heart rates aligning. Mothers and babies, friends walking in silence, even strangers in shared awe. It's as if the heart is not just a drum, but a tuning fork. And when you're calm, present, soft, it helps others find their tone too. And when you dream, oh, the heart listens. In sleep, your heartbeat slows. Your parasympathetic nervous system takes over. The body enters repair mode. But the heart does more than rest. It dances with your dreams. During REM sleep, when you're lost in the depths of imagined places and remembered faces, your heart rate can shift with the story. Fear quickens it. Peace slows it. Longing makes it ache. Love makes it bloom. Some researchers believe that the emotions we don't fully process during the day find their rhythm at night. that dreams help the heart recalibrate, that your sleeping heart is part of your emotional digestion. Isn't that beautiful? That your sorrow is not discarded, but gently metabolized under the moon. That your joy is not forgotten, but folded into your next heartbeat. Even creativity rides the heart's rhythm. Writers, musicians, dancers. So many describe entering flow as a feeling of sync, of being inside the beat, not rushed, not controlled, just tuned. Your heart, in those moments, becomes both metronome and muse. It guides your tempo, sets your pace, and sometimes it whispers something surprising, an idea, a phrase, a motion, pulled not from logic, but from something deeper, something older, because rhythm ultimately is language. Before words, before tools, before maps or calendars, we had rhythm. We followed the beat of footsteps, the rise and fall of tides, the pulse of rain, the rustle of wind, the thump of our own chest. And still we do. Even now, in our busy, screen-filled lives, we crave it. We seek out music. We tap our fingers. We sway. We return to breathwork, to drumming, to running in rhythm, to walking in step with someone we love. We are not as separate from our ancestors as we think. The beat continues. So tonight, as your own heartbeat slows with sleep, know this. You are not alone. You never have been. You carry a rhythm shared by countless generations. The rhythm that held warriors and poets, that cradled mothers and dreamers, that pulsed through the hands of those who built and those who healed. You are part of a lineage of rhythm, a song still playing. And the best part? You don't have to force it. You don't have to fix it. You only have to feel it and let it guide you home. There's a quiet story whispered in the corridors of hospitals and surgical theaters. A tale not often discussed in textbooks, but spoken of with awe. It's the story of memory carried not in the brain, but in the heart. Heart transplant recipients, people who receive another's beating core, have sometimes reported changes they can't explain. New preferences, unfamiliar dreams, sudden shifts in personality. A woman who had never liked classical music now feels moved to tears by Chopin. A man who once hated spicy food suddenly craves jalapenos. A child starts sketching landscapes from a town they've never visited, but that their donor once called home. Of course, science is cautious. There's no consensus yet, but the anecdotes persist, the rhythms persist, and somewhere in that soft space between proof and wonder, we find a question that lingers like a heartbeat in silence. Could memory live in rhythm? Could love, longing, or even identity be etched not just in neurons, but in pulse? We know the heart can sense before the mind. We know it sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends back. We know intuition, the soft yes, the quiet no, the unspoken knowing, often arrives first in the chest. A tightening, a softening, a flutter. That's not just emotion. That's information. The kind that doesn't speak in words, but in rhythm. And the more we learn to listen, the more clearly we can hear ourselves. You don't need a lab coat or a stethoscope to study the heart. You only need stillness. You only need attention. Because the heart is always speaking. It speaks when you hold someone's hand and feel your pulse calm. It speaks when you hear music that makes your chest ache. It speaks when you look at someone and know, without logic, without reason, that you are safe, or that you should run. Even grief has a heartbeat. When you lose someone, the rhythm changes. Your chest feels heavier, your breath shorter, your pulse less predictable. It's as if your body is learning how to beat alone. But slowly, slowly, the rhythm recalibrates. Not because you forget, not because the pain vanishes, but because the heart learns how to carry it. Like a drummer who shifts from march to elegy, like a river that finds a new path. And in that recalibration, something else emerges, compassion. When your own heart has cracked, you start hearing the cracks in others. You become more tender, more attuned, more human, and the heart, with its quiet wisdom, opens wider. It becomes not just a pump, not just a beat, but a bowl. A vessel, something that holds, that honors, that softens even as it strengthens. There are cultures that believe the heart continues beating after death, not physically but spiritually. that the final rhythm sends a ripple into the next world. That when someone dies, they don't vanish. They echo. In lullabies, in footsteps, in memories that make your chest swell without warning. Maybe that's what legacy is. Not what we build, but what we pulse into the world. A kindness that outlives us. A rhythm passed forward. A gentle thump in someone else's chest when they think of us. Your heartbeat right now is not just yours. It is inherited. It is influenced. It is shared. And it will echo. In every person you love. In every life you touch. In every breath you take in softness. The heart has always known how to connect beyond language. Even in silence. Especially in silence. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet hum of your room, as the light fades and your thoughts grow slow and long, place a hand on your chest. Feel it, that steady drum, that quiet companion, that sacred echo. Let it remind you, you are alive. You are part of something ancient. You are rhythm made flesh. And in this soft space between one breath and the next, may you find peace. Let's begin with love, not the hallmark kind, but the real biological gravitational pull of love. When you fall for someone, truly fall, your heart doesn't just flutter in metaphor. It changes. Your heart rate variability, the subtle fluctuations between beats, becomes more flexible, more adaptive. This is a sign of emotional resilience. A heart in love is not just faster, it's wiser. It becomes better at adjusting, better at synchronizing with another. Studies have shown that people in close relationships, romantic partners, parents and infants, even longtime friends, can experience literal heart coherence. When they're near each other, or even just thinking of one another, their heart rhythms begin to align, like dancers swaying to the same invisible tune. Love, it turns out, has a rhythm, and it's contagious. Then there's awe, that sudden hush when you see a vast sky, or hear a perfect piece of music, or witness something that makes your soul stretch. Slows your heart. It opens the chest, softens the breath, widens the pupils. It is one of the few emotions that reliably pulls us out of self-focus and into connection, with nature, with others, with the universe itself. And here's the beautiful part. Even small doses of awe, just a few moments a week, have been shown to reduce inflammation, boost immunity, and increase life satisfaction. Your heart doesn't just beat to keep you alive. It beats to help you feel alive. And awe is its favorite song. Now let's talk about creativity. Not just the kind found in art studios or concert halls, but the everyday kind. Problem solving, storytelling, dreaming, the act of making something new. Your heart is your silent co-creator. When you're deeply engaged in a creative act, your heart rate can enter a state of coherence. Smoother, more harmonic patterns that support focus, intuition, and joy. It's not just your brain working. It's your body aligning to help birth something beautiful. Even writers and painters often describe a sense of flow that begins in the chest. A quickening, a warmth, a thrum of knowing. That's the heart speaking. And perhaps most tenderly, the heart responds to meaning. When you do something that aligns with your values, when you comfort someone, speak a truth, create beauty, offer forgiveness, your heart responds. It becomes more stable, more coherent. It says, yes, this, more of this. Your body knows when your life matches your soul, and it tells you through rhythm. But what happens when that rhythm is disrupted? When grief enters, or loneliness, or fear? The heart, so open and brave, contracts. It speeds up or stumbles, tightens the chest, shortens the breath, clouds the mind. These aren't malfunctions. They're messages, signals from your core asking for attention, for tenderness, for change. And when we learn to listen, not just to suppress or override, but to listen, we begin to heal. We begin to harmonize. And healing is never linear. Your heart will falter. It will ache. It will race. But it will also find its way back, again and again. Because at its essence, your heart is not just a drum. It is a compass. And even when you feel lost, its rhythm is quietly marking the path home. And so, tonight, as your breath softens and your body melts into the quiet, remember this. Your heartbeat is not just a sign of life. It is your story, pulsing through your veins, writing itself in real time. Every love you've felt, every sorrow you've carried, every dream you've dared to hold, they live here. They echo here. You are not alone in your chest. You are accompanied by every moment that ever moved you, and your heart, faithful as ever, keeps the rhythm. You see, change has a texture. It arrives not as a gust, but as a shift in tempo. A slowing here, a quickening there. It feels like anxiety sometimes. Tightness in the chest, a skipped beat, a deep exhale that comes uninvited. That's your heart adjusting, not just pumping blood, but signaling that your life is evolving. Something is ending, beginning, or both at once. And your heart knows how to adapt. It always has. This is the secret resilience of the human body. It doesn't resist change, it responds to it. Your heart learns new rhythms as you learn new truths. It calibrates when you move to a new place, lose someone dear, start a new chapter, or take a risk. That pounding you feel when you're scared to speak your truth, that's your heart preparing you for courage. That soft steadiness you feel when you know you're on the right path. That's your heart affirming alignment. The body doesn't lie, and the heart, especially, has no room for pretense. It simply responds. But resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about integrating what has happened into your rhythm, into your memory, into your muscle. A heartbreak doesn't disappear. A loss doesn't vanish. But your heart can learn how to carry it. Not by forgetting, but by reshaping. Scar tissue isn't weakness. It's a map of survival. The quiet proof that your heart has stretched to hold what once felt unholdable. And here's something even more extraordinary. Your heart carries memory across generations. There is growing evidence that trauma, resilience, and emotional experiences are not just passed down through stories or culture, but through biology, through epigenetic markers, through inherited rhythms. A grandmother's grief may echo subtly in the way her granddaughter's heart reacts to danger. A lineage of love may soften the chest of someone who's never known its original source. This is not destiny. It's invitation. Because while the heart remembers, it also rewrites. Every time you choose presence over fear, tenderness over armor, expression over silence, you shift the rhythm. You make a new beat possible. For yourself, for others, for those not yet born. So tonight, as the world grows quiet, place your hand on your heart again. Listen, not just to the thump-thump of biology, but to the quiet wisdom underneath. The heart that has guided you through joy and pain. The heart that keeps adjusting, even when you're exhausted. The heart that has never once given up on you. It doesn't ask for perfection. Only attention, only care, only the occasional moment of stillness, where you remember, this rhythm is sacred. This rhythm is yours. And when change comes again, and you will feel the shift. But you will not be destroyed by it. Because your heart has become a dancer. It knows how to move with chaos, how to find its center in turbulence, how to keep time even when time feels lost. You are not fragile. You are rhythmic. You are a living symphony, tuning itself each day. And the heart? It's your drum, your compass, your keeper of memory and possibility. Then let us drift deeper, into the quiet territories of dreams, imagination, and the unknown, where the heart still listens, still responds, still sings. You may not think of your heart when you're dreaming. You may not notice its pace shifting as your mind dances through impossible landscapes, ancient memories, or strange new tomorrows. But it is there, always there, tuning itself to your inner world, even when your eyes are closed, even when the outside world fades away. Because the heart doesn't just beat in response to the physical. It beats in response to wonder. When you imagine something, a place, a future, a person you haven't met, your heart joins in. The rhythm might quicken with excitement or slow with longing. It does not know the difference between real and imagined. It only knows emotion. That's what it tracks. That's what it holds. That's what it records. And this is where the magic of the human heart becomes truly breathtaking. It lets us feel our way into the unknown, Long before you take a leap, before you leave the job, speak the truth, fall in love, or chase the dream, your heart has already rehearsed it. In the quiet, in the dreaming, in the moment you dared to hope, felt the weight, the wonder, the risk, the beauty, and it kept time for you like a guide walking just a few paces ahead. This is why your heart aches for things you haven't even touched yet, why it mourns things that haven't yet ended, why it races at the thought of something that hasn't happened. Yet, the heart is not linear. It exists beyond time. It remembers the future. It anticipates the past. It is both historian and prophet, beating faithfully in a present moment that is always expanding. Even fear, the kind that flutters like a warning bell in your chest, is a form of imagination, a signal that your mind has leapt ahead to a possibility. The heart doesn't judge it. It just listens, adjusts, prepares, because courage doesn't mean not feeling afraid. It means letting your heart beat louder than your fear. And this beautiful truth is why the heart matters more than we've ever understood. It is not just a machine, not just a pump. It is a translator of meaning, a conductor of emotion, a guardian of what makes us human. Your dreams, those strange, lovely, terrifying things you see behind your eyes at night, they aren't separate from your heart. They are shaped by it, fed by it, woven into your beat like secret notes in a lullaby. The heart is always listening to what you long for, always. And when you wake into morning light, into noise, into responsibility, it doesn't stop listening. It asks, what will you move toward today? What will you imagine that is kinder, deeper, more true? Because your heart doesn't care about perfection. It doesn't want performance. It wants alignment, wholeness, integrity between what you feel, what you dream, and how you live. Even if your steps are small, even if your rhythm is slow. So as you lie here now, in the hush between thought and sleep, remember that your heartbeat is the original lullaby. It has been playing since before you had ears to hear it, since you were just cells dividing in a quiet dark, since before the world knew your name. You have always had this music in you. Let it guide you now, through the unknown, through the ache, through the dreamscape of becoming. And when the morning comes, as it always does, you will rise with a rhythm that has carried you through another night. You are not lost. You are simply unfolding. And your heart, your gentle, tireless heart, is still here, still keeping time, still ready for what comes next. Then let us drift deeper, into the quiet territories of dreams, imagination, and the unknown, where the heart still listens, still responds, still sings. You may not think of your heart when you're dreaming. You may not notice its pace shifting as your mind dances through impossible landscapes, ancient memories, or strange new tomorrows. But it is there, always there, tuning itself to your inner world, even when your eyes are closed, even when the outside world fades away. Because the heart doesn't just beat in response to the physical. It beats in response to wonder. When you imagine something, a place, a future, a person you haven't met, your heart joins in. The rhythm might quicken with excitement or slow with longing. It does not know the difference between real and imagined. It only knows emotion. That's what it tracks. That's what it holds. That's what it records. And this is where the magic of the human heart becomes truly breathtaking. It lets us feel our way into the unknown. Long before you take a leap, before you leave the job, speak the truth, fall in love, or chase the dream, your heart has already rehearsed it. In the quiet, in the dreaming, in the moment you dared to hope, felt the weight, the wonder, the risk, the beauty, and it kept time for you like a guide walking just a few paces ahead. This is why your heart aches for things you haven't even touched yet, why it mourns things that haven't yet ended, why it races at the thought of something that hasn't happened. Yet, the heart is not linear. It exists beyond time. It remembers the future. It anticipates the past. It is both historian and prophet, beating faithfully in a present moment that is always expanding. Even fear, the kind that flutters like a warning bell in your chest, is a form of imagination, a signal that your mind has leapt ahead to a possibility. The heart doesn't judge it. It just listens, adjusts, prepares. Because courage doesn't mean not feeling afraid. It means letting your heart beat louder than your fear. And this beautiful truth is why the heart matters more than we've ever understood. It is not just a machine, not just a pump. It is a translator of meaning, a conductor of emotion, a guardian of what makes us human. Your dreams, those strange, lovely, terrifying things you see behind your eyes at night, they aren't separate from your heart. They are shaped by it, fed by it, woven into your beat like secret notes in a lullaby. The heart is always listening to what you long for, always. And when you wake into morning light, into noise, into responsibility, it doesn't stop listening. It asks, what will you move toward today? What will you imagine that is kinder, deeper, more true? Because your heart doesn't care about perfection. It doesn't want performance. It wants alignment, wholeness, integrity between what you feel, what you dream, and how you live. Even if your steps are small, even if your rhythm is slow. So as you lie here now, in the hush between thought and sleep, remember that your heartbeat is the original lullaby. It has been playing since before you had ears to hear it. Since you were just cells dividing in a quiet dark. Since before the world knew your name. You have always had this music in you. Let it guide you now, through the unknown, through the ache, through the dreamscape of becoming. And when the morning comes, as it always does, you will rise with a rhythm that has carried you through another night. You are not lost. You are simply unfolding. And your heart, your gentle, tireless heart, is still here, still keeping time, still ready for what comes next. Then come with me, gently, into the heart's most vulnerable chamber, love. Not just the romantic kind, though that is part of it, but the full spectrum. The ancient ache of longing, the quiet devotion to someone who doesn't even know, the fierce protection of a child, the slow, steady companionship between two souls who choose each other again and again. Love, as it turns out, is not just poetry, it is physiology. The heart, in its delicate network of nerves, muscles, and messengers, is wired for it. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, floods your system in moments of closeness. But what's astonishing is this. It's not your brain alone that processes these moments. Your heart feels it, responds to it, shapes itself around it. People in deep, enduring love actually show synchronized heart patterns. Their breathing begins to align. Their nervous systems begin to mirror. It's not just metaphor, it's measurable. In love, your heartbeat becomes a duet. And in heartbreak, it becomes a solo again. Softer, slower, heavier, but still playing. And here's what the heart teaches us. Love is not just what lifts us. It's also what stretches us, what wounds us, what mends us. It is not tidy. It is not painless. But it is worth every beat, every tremble, every skipped rhythm. Do you remember the first time your heart raced because of someone? That fluttering sensation, like wings trying to take flight inside your chest? That wasn't weakness. That was your body saying, pay attention. This matters. This is new. This is sacred. Even heartbreak, which feels like collapse, is a kind of expansion. Teaches the heart its capacity. Not just to love, but to survive love. To learn. To grow stronger not through resistance, but through opening again, knowing the risk and choosing it anyway. This is why every great story, every epic ever told, begins and ends with the heart, metaphorically and literally. Whether it's the courage to fight, the pain of loss, or the triumph of connection, the heart is always the compass. And love, real love, is not the absence of fear, but the choice to keep showing up through it. To offer your rhythm to someone else. To say, here, listen, this is me. This is what I carry. And I want you to hear it. Not everyone will. But the ones who do, the ones who pause, breathe, and match their tempo to yours, those are your people. Your soul's resonance. So tonight, as you lie here wrapped in breath and starlight, remember that your heart has already known love. In laughter, in music, in silence, in the way your chest rises when you see something beautiful. A sunrise, a child's smile, an old friend's text when you needed it most. These are all love. And love, like the heart, does not demand grand gestures. It thrives in the small, in the ordinary, in the consistent beat of showing up. So let your heart soften. Let it remember. Let it grieve if it needs to. Let it long. Let it hope. Because every time it beats, it says, I'm still here. I still care. I still believe. In the next breath, the next chance, the next soft place to land. And tomorrow, when you wake, may you carry that beat with you. Not just for yourself, but for someone who has forgotten how beautiful their own rhythm is. Your heart knows the way, not with haste but with reverence, into the quiet transformations the heart undergoes as we age, as we learn, as we live. Because the heart you are carrying now is not the same heart you were born with. Not entirely. Every cell in it has turned over. Every experience you've survived has reshaped its rhythm. Every loss has deepened its tone. Every joy has expanded its capacity. It has grown with you in shadow and in sunlight. As a child, your heart was fast, fluttering like a bird's wings, fueled by wonder and instinct. It beat rapidly, not just from activity, but from the raw, electric presence of the world. New colors, new voices, new fears, all rushing into your senses like a river. And your heart, eager and open, raced to meet it all. As you grew, that rhythm slowed, not because the world became dull, but because your heart learned pacing, learned how to wait, how to rest, how to sustain. The adolescent heart, still curious, began to explore not just survival but meaning, who you loved, who hurt you, who you were becoming. It began to stretch into more complicated shapes. It became a heart capable of questions, capable of yearning, and then adulthood, where the heart learns both ambition and responsibility, where it becomes not just an instrument of emotion, but a compass through complexity. It beats through long nights and longer years, through heartbreak and healing, through the relentless rhythm of becoming who you were meant to be. It strengthens not just from use but from trust, in your choices, in your direction, in your right to slow down when the world demands speed. And even then, the heart does not plateau, continues to shift, to adapt, to whisper new truths. With each decade, it holds more stories, more scars, more wisdom. The heart of an elder is not fragile, it is seasoned, weathered, carries storms in its silence. It beats not with urgency, but with clarity. And this evolution isn't just emotional. It's physical, too. The heart's tissues change with time. Its vessels respond to wear. Its rhythms adapt to stress. And yet, in so many people, it endures, keeps going. Despite fear, despite trauma, despite grief. That's the quiet miracle of it all. Your heart has been wounded and kept beating. It has been ignored and kept giving. It has been overworked, and still it woke up with you this morning. It's not perfect, it's not polished, but it is yours. It is proof that softness and strength are not opposites. And maybe that's why the image of a broken heart speaks so deeply to us. Because even when we feel shattered, emotionally, spiritually, we know the real heart keeps beating anyway. It doesn't give up. It just beats differently, with new weight, with new rhythm. But still, it beats. So when we speak of resilience, we are not talking about pushing through. We are talking about staying present, staying tender, staying human in a world that asks us to be machines. Your heart does not beat for efficiency. It beats for connection. And when it breaks, it does not break apart, it breaks open. To more truth, more empathy, more life. So tonight, as you rest, whether you feel whole or cracked or somewhere in between, trust that your heart is exactly where it's supposed to be. That every beat you hear is not just a sign of life, but a declaration. I am still here. I am still listening. I am still loving. The one happening quietly, constantly, between your heart and your brain. For a long time, we thought of the heart as the servant of the brain. A pump, a follower. But now, science is learning what poets always suspected. The heart speaks, too. And sometimes, it speaks first. Within the heart lies an intricate web of over 40,000 neurons. A little brain, as researchers have called it. These neurons don't just receive instructions. They send signals of their own, shaping how your body reacts to the world, how your mind interprets emotion, even how you feel intuition, that gut feeling that doesn't start in the gut at all. It begins with rhythm, with pulse, with a shift in the way your heart dances beneath your ribs. When you're anxious, your heart speeds up. That part is simple. But what's astonishing is that your brain listens. It adjusts, interprets, believes what your heart is saying. If your heart is erratic, your mind becomes more reactive. If your heart slows, your brain begins to soften. It's like a duet, not one leading the other, but each responding in a subtle choreography that guides your thoughts, your mood, your very sense of safety. This is why breath matters. When you breathe slowly, deeply, intentionally, you're not just calming your lungs. You're communicating with your heart. You're sending it a signal. It's okay now. And in turn, your heart replies to the brain. We are safe. You can let go. This is coherence, the gentle, rhythmic alignment between body and mind. It is the opposite of chaos. It is the music beneath silence. And anyone can learn it. You don't need a teacher or a temple. You just need a moment, a pause, a breath in, and a breath out. It's the reason so many meditative practices begin with the heart. It's not about control. It's about connection. Because even when the world is noisy, your heartbeat is a metronome for peace. Keeps time with the stars, with the tides, with the quiet rhythm of dusk. It reminds you that life is not a race, but a flow. And what a profound thing, that in a world obsessed with speed, your heart's wisdom is found in slowness, in softness, in stillness. So tonight, maybe for the first time in a long time, place your hand on your chest. Not to check if you're okay, but to say thank you for carrying you, for never asking to be noticed, yet always being there. Through every crisis, every celebration, every ordinary Tuesday, just beating. And know this, when you offer kindness to yourself, your heart responds. It relaxes, it opens, the tension eases, the rhythm smooths, because the heart is always listening. Here's your hopes, here's your grief, and it holds both with equal grace. Then let's continue into the unseen archive your heart quietly tends, because it's not just pumping blood, it's storing experience. Not in the way your brain does with dates and details and timelines, but in the way a melody stores feeling. The heart remembers, emotionally, electrically, physiologically. When something hurts you, a betrayal, a loss, a moment of deep fear, your heart doesn't just speed up in the moment. It changes how it beats after, how it responds to future stress, how quickly it recovers. The heart learns patterns. It learns what to brace for. And in this learning, it protects, but it also tightens, becomes guarded, hypervigilant. Just like a person who's been hurt too many times, the heart can become over-defensive, ready to run before danger even arrives. This is why trauma isn't just psychological. It's cardiac. The patterns of trauma live in your autonomic nervous system, in your vagus nerve, in your adrenal response, and yes, in your heart rate variability. A person with unresolved trauma often has a heart that stays in high alert, unable to return to baseline after small stressors. And this isn't weakness. This is memory. Cellular, electrical memory. It's the body saying, I remember what it took to survive. I'm not letting that happen again. But here's the grace, memory can soften. Just as the brain can rewire, the heart can relearn. With safety, with gentleness, with time. When you start to feel truly safe again, not just physically but emotionally, the heart responds. It relearns how to rest, how to slow, how to trust, and that trust shows up not in some grand gesture, but in the way your chest relaxes when you're with someone who sees you, in the way your heartbeat evens out during a walk under trees, in the way your breath deepens when you finally feel understood. Healing is not a straight line. But the heart doesn't need a straight line. It needs rhythm. It needs repetition. It needs you to show up for it, even when it's scared. Especially then. And love, true love, safe love, not just romance, is a great teacher. When someone holds you with care, listens without rushing, stays when you tremble, the heart recalibrates. It learns, again, that not every beat must be defensive, that some rhythms are safe, that some silences are full of warmth. You can offer this to yourself, too, in small, deliberate ways. You can speak kindly to your chest. You can rest your hand over your heart when it races. You can tell it, "You don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm here.
I'm listening.
I won't abandon you." And that reassurance over time becomes part of the rhythm. Because the heart is not mechanical. It is relational. It thrives in connection, not just with others, but with you. So as we drift deeper into this night, into this story, into your body's quiet wisdom, remember, you are not just carrying a heart. You are carrying a history, a lineage of love and loss, of courage and vulnerability. Your heart is not weak for having broken. It is powerful for having healed. When you love, your heart doesn't just flutter metaphorically. It literally changes. Hormones like oxytocin and dopamine surge, not only affecting your mood but adjusting your heart rate variability, that beautiful metric that reflects how flexible and resilient your nervous system is. In love, the heart becomes more attuned, more responsive, more open to the rhythm of another. Lovers' heartbeats, when sitting close together or holding hands, have been shown to synchronize. Breath matches. Pulse slows in harmony. Even stress responses become buffered not by logic but by presence. That's how powerful proximity is. But when love ends, through distance, through silence, through death, the heart mourns. And again, not just poetically but physiologically. Broken heart syndrome is real. Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. A sudden shock, a wave of grief, can weaken the heart's left ventricle, mimicking a heart attack. It's the body's way of saying, what mattered is gone, and I am struggling to beat without it. But even in grief, the heart does something remarkable. It adapts. Slowly. It begins again. Not the same way, not with the same rhythm, but with a new one shaped by what it loved and lost. This is why grief is not just something to get over. It's something you build around. Your heartbeat expands to hold it. Like tree rings around a wound, the rhythm changes but continues. And what's beautiful is that the heart doesn't forget. Not really. The people you've loved still shape how your heart responds. Their echoes are part of your rhythm. The way your heart lifts when you see a sunrise. The warmth you feel when a familiar song plays. The ache in your chest when you remember someone's voice. These are not ghosts. They are imprints. They are rhythm remembered. The heart holds all of this. Joy, grief, excitement, anxiety. In layers, like a symphony constantly being written. And every day it plays a version of that music, tailored to where you are, who you're with, what you're healing. Sometimes it plays fast, when the world feels overwhelming. Sometimes it plays soft, when you're near someone who sees you. Sometimes it pauses long enough for you to notice. And in that noticing, a kind of magic happens. You remember that you're alive. That something ancient and tender is working tirelessly to carry you. You don't need to do anything extraordinary to deserve that. You don't need to prove your worth to your own heartbeat. You just need to listen. Just once. Just now. So take a breath. Feel it enter. Let it stretch your ribs. Feel your heart respond. That beat, that's you. That's your body saying, I'm still here. I'm still trying. I'm still hopeful. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it always has been. Deeper still into the origin of it all. Before your name. Before your breath. Before your brain even knew how to dream. Your heart, tiny and shimmering, was already moving. Already learning how to beat in the watery dark of the womb. Before you ever made a decision. Before you ever cried out or curled your fingers or recognized a face. Your heart had found its rhythm. At just 22 days after conception, a simple tube of tissue starts to flutter, not randomly, but in a pulse, cadence, a whisper of life. This is not the heartbeat you'll grow into, with 4 chambers and valves and electrical nodes. This is more primitive, more raw, the very first spark of motion. But it matters, because from that first motion, everything else begins to build around it. The rhythm lays the blueprint. It becomes the foundation for circulation, for nourishment, for survival. You were rhythm before you were anything else. And the heart doesn't just beat, it listens. In the womb, it responds to the mother's emotions. Her stress, her calm, her music, her breathing. Studies show that fetuses adjust their heart rate based on the mother's voice, her laughter, her sadness. This is not metaphor. This is cellular memory. The body learns safety before it understands language. So when you now feel calm with someone's tone, or nervous in someone's presence, that's your heart remembering. Not just your own past, but generations of responses. Layers of rhythm passed down like stories. Epigenetics tells us this, that what your grandmother felt during pregnancy may still echo in your body today. That joy, that fear, that heartbreak, they don't vanish. They ripple. The rhythm echoes. And that may sound overwhelming, but it's also empowering. Because you are not just the sum of what happened to you. You are the continuation of what chose to beat anyway. You are not static. You are not stuck. Your heart can learn new rhythms. This is where music becomes more than entertainment. It becomes therapy. It becomes alignment. People with cardiac conditions often find solace in rhythm, in drum circles, in lullabies, in songs that bring back parts of themselves they thought were lost. That's because music doesn't just enter the ears. It enters the chest. The beat of a drum can entrain your pulse. A slow ballad can lower your blood pressure. A fast, joyful tune can spark the nervous system into joyful movement. The heart remembers rhythm as language. And that rhythm, even in silence, continues. Even when you're asleep, your heart doesn't stop. It shifts gears. It lowers its tempo. It follows the dream. In REM sleep, when your eyes flicker behind closed lids and your brain dances in stories, your heart plays along. It responds to dream content. It races in fear, softens in peace. Your subconscious tells your chest, feel this, and the heart listens. This is why dreams can feel so real. Your body is participating. Even now, as you lie still listening to this, your heart is shifting, matching tone, slowing down, letting the edges soften. Let it be held by this rhythm. Let it remember that it is not alone. You are never alone when your heart is with you. And if ever the rhythm feels lost, know this. It can be found again. Through breath, through kindness, through connection, through remembering that you are not a machine. You are a miracle. One that beats not just because it must, but because it wants to. Because there is still something beautiful to feel. Still something worth waking up for. And so we continue into the astonishing partnership between the heart and the lungs. Those two ancient companions that dance in tandem every second of your life. Every inhale you take, deep or shallow, conscious or forgotten, sends a signal to your heart. We're here, we're breathing, and your heart listens. It adjusts, it softens, it speeds up ever so slightly on the inhale, slows gently on the exhale. This rhythm, called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, is not a flaw. It's a design. It's the body's way of syncing life with motion, oxygen with pulse, stillness with flow. Breathe in and your heart opens the door. Breathe out and it lets the moment settle. It's a conversation happening under your awareness. Every minute of every day, even while you dream, even while you grieve, even while you forget to notice. The lungs expand with air, and the heart nestles between them like a sacred messenger. Not just delivering blood, but interpreting your state of being. Are you calm? Are you frightened? Are you in love? The lungs speak through rhythm, and the heart translates. Together, they hold you in a space where emotion and biology blur. And when you cry, truly cry, the lungs heave and the heart pounds. Not just because of stress hormones, but because that rhythm is your truth trying to rise. When you hold your breath, clench your chest, swallow your feelings, your heart bears the weight. It adjusts, tightens, it waits for you to return. And when you finally sigh, that release, that's your heart saying thank you. This is why breathwork matters. Why silence matters. Why presence, even just for a moment, matters. When you bring your attention to your breath, even briefly, you give your heart a chance to recalibrate, to return to its natural rhythm. One not dictated by stress or screens or schedules, but by you. your original beat, your first music. And sometimes, just sometimes, that's all the body asks of you. Not perfection, not productivity, just presence. Even in medicine, we've come to learn that the heart's rhythm tells stories before symptoms arise. Heart rate variability, that tiny measure of change between beats, is a silent narrator of your life. It shows when you're resilient, when you're recovering, when you're pushing too hard, when your body is whispering for rest. It's the secret metric of well-being. And it can change, not just with medication or machines, but with moments. A hug, a memory, a single deep breath in a crowded room. That's how sensitive your heart is, and how powerful your awareness can be. Your heart is not just beating to keep you alive. It's beating to remind you that you are alive. Every moment is a chance to tune in, to listen to the pulse behind your thoughts, the rhythm beneath your routine, the soft thud that says you are still here, still trying, still enough. And if your rhythm has ever felt off, if anxiety has made it race, or grief has made it heavy, or loneliness has made it ache, know this: your heart has not failed you. It's responding, it's adapting, it's keeping time with the tempo of your life. It has heard every moment and kept going. That is not weakness. That is endurance. That is grace. So place a hand on your chest if you can. Feel that quiet rhythm, that ancient thud. That is your companion. That is your lighthouse. That is the most faithful drum you will ever know. And still, it keeps time. Then let us drift even deeper into the electricity that pulses through the quiet chambers of your heart, a whisper of lightning that never rests. At the center of this rhythm lives the sinoatrial node, your body's own pacemaker, a cluster of cells no larger than a grain of rice, tucked gently into the upper right chamber of your heart. And yet, from this tiny beacon, an entire life unfolds, one pulse at a time. It fires not from force, but from memory. From programming so ancient it predates your thoughts. This node sends its signal like a lighthouse casting rhythm across the sea of your chest, first to the atria, then down to the ventricles, creating a wave, a dance, a perfect sequence of contraction and release. Expand, relax, expand, relax. A choreography that repeats itself more than 100,000 times per day, often without error, often without thanks. And when the world is chaotic, when your thoughts race, when fear grips your body like ice, the heart's rhythm may stumble, but it does not abandon you. The pacemaker waits. It adapts. It remembers. It slows when you rest. It quickens when you run. It holds space for joy, and it steadies itself during grief. It is not just a conductor of blood. It is a mirror for your life. And in certain moments, magical, terrifying, sacred, your heart pauses. You feel it, don't you? That brief stillness before the thud returns. That suspended breath. That sudden awareness. In a moment of love, in a moment of loss, that's the heart recalibrating, listening, asking, "Are you still with me?" And when the answer is yes, even whispered through tears, it continues. This is not a machine. This is not an algorithm. This is not automation. This is love. Because the heart does not beat alone. It listens to the brain, to the gut, to the skin. It senses the world through hormones, through pressure, through tiny nerve endings that stretch into your spine and beyond. The vagus nerve, that golden thread running from your brainstem into your chest, stomach, and lungs, acts like a soft translator between thought and feeling, between mind and motion. When you're safe, truly safe, the vagus nerve tells the heart to slow down, to soften, to trust. This is why deep breathing, laughter, warm touch, and even quiet music can calm your entire system. They don't just change your mood, they change your rhythm. And that rhythm, in turn, begins to shape your inner world. You are, quite literally, dancing with your own biology. In ancient traditions, the heart wasn't just an organ, it was the seat of the soul. The place where intuition lived, where courage formed, where love found its home. And modern science, for all its wires and metrics, is beginning to agree. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Let that sink in. Your heart informs your thoughts. not the other way around. Can feel before you can explain. Can warn you before you understand. Can know in that deep cellular way when something is right or not. This is why heartbreak isn't just a metaphor. The chest aches, the lungs tighten, the pulse stutters. A real, measurable rhythm shifts. The body is mourning. It's adjusting to the absence of something or someone it had aligned with. And in healing, too, the heart responds. You don't will yourself back into wholeness. Your heart leads you there, beat by beat, memory by memory, until you feel strong enough to love again, to laugh again, to live again. The heart holds all of this, and still it beats. Can you see now? You are not just a body with a pump. You are a universe with a rhythm, a song still being written, a dance still unfolding. And every moment you choose gentleness, with yourself, with others, you bring the heart closer to its truest expression. Not survival, but connection. Then onward we go, into the dim, candlelit corridors of ancient history, where the heartbeat was not just a medical event but a message from the divine. In ancient Egypt, physicians could read the pulse like a poem, placing gentle fingers upon the wrist and listening, not just for speed or strength, but for balance. They believed the body flowed like the Nile, with currents of life energy moving through invisible channels. And when the pulse faltered, it was a sign not only of sickness, but of imbalance in the soul. To them, the heart wasn't just a pump. It was the conscience, the mind, the memory, the keeper of truth. In fact, when Egyptians mummified the dead, they carefully removed and preserved the heart. The brain, often discarded, but the heart that was sacred, because in the afterlife, it would be weighed against a feather. If it was heavy with lies or cruelty, it would sink, and the soul would be lost. But if it was light, clean, honest, the spirit would rise, float, be welcomed into eternity. Think about that. The ancients believed that your truth lived in your chest, that your goodness had weight, that your choices shaped not just your life, but your legacy. In ancient China, the heart was seen as the ruler, the sovereign organ. It was called Xin, and it governed not just circulation but wisdom, emotion, sleep. Joy was its most natural state, and when the heart was content, the entire body fell into rhythm. And when sorrow struck, it was said to scatter the spirit, like wind across a still lake. Even in the Sanskrit traditions of India, the heart anahata was the fourth chakra, the unstruck sound, a place of compassion, forgiveness, and boundless love. It was considered the bridge between the physical and spiritual, the space where earthly experience met eternal truth. No matter where you look, across continents and centuries, you'll find this shared reverence for the heart, not just for its beat but for its meaning. We've always known that something sacred happens here, and yet, it wasn't until the 17th century that we began to truly map the heart's mechanics. It was William Harvey, an English physician, who first described the circulation of blood, how it moved in a closed loop, propelled by the rhythmic contractions of the heart. His discovery was revolutionary. It changed medicine forever. But even Harvey, with all his science, called the heart the beginning of life. He knew there was more to it than muscle, and perhaps that's what we're still discovering today. Modern imaging can map the chambers, trace the vessels, visualize the valves. We can listen to every beat, predict the pauses, even restart the rhythm with shocks and wires. But none of it, not a single scan or surgery, has ever explained why the heart breaks when we lose someone, or why it races at the sight of someone we love, or why, in moments of deep awe, standing under stars, holding a newborn, watching the ocean, the chest expands as if to say, this matters, because the heart is more than circulatory. It is ceremonial. It marks the thresholds of our lives, the birth cry, the first kiss, the final breath. And it remembers, not in language but in feeling. You may forget the details of a day, but your heart will remember how it felt. It stores the nervous excitement before your first big risk, the quiet ache after goodbye, the warm flutter when you're held, the trembling strength when you stand up for yourself. These moments imprint on your rhythm, on your vagus tone, on the subtle symphony of your chest. And still, the beat goes on. So here you are now, perhaps lying still, perhaps holding your chest, perhaps simply listening, and your heart is listening too. It hears your silence. It echoes your truth, and it does not rush you. You don't need to heal all at once. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to be at peace just yet. Your heart has time, and rhythm, and patience. All it asks is that you meet it beat for beat, breath for breath, in this moment. You see, when you love someone, your heart doesn't simply beat faster. It begins to synchronize. Literally. Studies have shown that people in deep connection, whether romantic or platonic, will start to match heart rhythms. Their pulses, their breathing, even their nervous system activity begins to mirror. As if the body is whispering, "We're in this together." And in times of deep intimacy, a long hug, shared laughter, a moment of quiet eye contact, the heart releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It softens the stress response. It strengthens emotional memory. It helps you feel safe, seen, held. This is not just a feeling. It's a physiological shift. Your heart opens, not metaphorically, but chemically, electrically, rhythmically. It becomes a space of safety, a place where another life is welcomed. And then comes loss, sometimes sudden, sometimes slow, but always disruptive. The heart can't protect itself from grief. It doesn't have that kind of armor. Instead, it opens wider, not to invite more pain, but because it remembers how to hold love. That ache in your chest after a goodbye, that tightness after death or distance or departure. That is your nervous system mourning, your vagus nerve trembling, your rhythm catching its breath. And yes, heartbreak can be seen on scans. Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, also called broken heart syndrome, causes a weakening of the heart's left ventricle, often after emotional trauma. It mimics a heart attack. It hurts. It's real. But here's what's more incredible. Most hearts recover. The rhythm returns. The strength rebuilds. Because the heart is not just fragile, it's resilient. It was built not to avoid love, but to survive it, to stretch through it, to be changed by it. You are proof of that. Every time you've been hurt and chosen to love again, your heart has expanded. Every time you've lost and still remembered fondly, your heart has evolved. Every time you've offered kindness when it wasn't owed, your heart has led. And now, as you sit or lie here, listening to this soft rhythm in your chest, perhaps you can feel just how much your heart has carried. Not just blood, but you, all of you, the child you once were, the tears you never cried, the joy you thought you lost, the dreams you still quietly carry. It's all there, wrapped in muscle and memory. And the most beautiful part? Your heart has never asked for perfection, only presence. You don't need to do more. You don't need to be anyone else. Just stay, just feel, just breathe. This is how the heart heals, not through force, but through trust. Trust that tomorrow will come. Trust that you are enough. Trust that even now, in stillness, something sacred is unfolding. Then come closer, gently now, as we trace the very first beats, the ones that happen before we even open our eyes to the world. Somewhere, deep in the womb, long before we speak, walk, or understand, our hearts begin to stir. Around 22 days after conception, a tiny cluster of cells begins to flicker. No sound yet.
No hecho.
But movement, rhythm, a spark of timing set to no conductor but life itself. That first heartbeat is not only miraculous, it is ancestral, carried in code, written in DNA, the blueprint passed down from every parent who came before you, whose hearts also once sparked in silence. This pulse, this rhythm, has been echoing through generations long before your name was known. You are not just the child of two people. You are the crescendo of thousands of beating hearts that made it through. And in that ancient choreography, the fetal heart doesn't beat like an adult's. It races, fast and fluttering, more like a hummingbird than a drum, over 150 beats per minute, as if hurrying to grow, hurrying to live. And it's the mother's voice, the rhythm of her own heart, her breathing, her laughter, that help guide this forming rhythm into something steady, something sustainable. The connection is not metaphorical, it is literal. A mother's emotional state can influence the baby's heart rate. Calm brings calm. Fear brings tension. And love? Love sings its own lullaby through every pulse. Isn't that beautiful? That we're shaped, from the beginning, by another's rhythm? That our own hearts are born in duet. Even after birth, the dance continues. A newborn placed on a parent's chest will sync their heartbeat to the person holding them. Skin to skin, beat to beat. That's not magic. That's a memory. That's biology remembering its source. And as you grow, your heart continues to evolve. It slows down, strengthens. Learn new rhythms through running, resting, crying, dreaming, through falling in love, through losing it, through dancing wildly at 2 a.m., through standing still during heartbreak. Each phase of your life writes new music into your chest. And yet, your heart never forgets its first rhythm. That early tempo, your embryonic cadence, remains the root note, the bass line to every future variation. Even now, when you're still, perhaps listening to this with your eyes closed or curled beneath a blanket, your heart is softly playing that same ancient song, the one your body never forgot. And when someone touches your chest or hugs you just right or lays their head against you and they say they feel safe, it's not just your arms they're reacting to. It's your rhythm. It's the unspoken invitation your heart offers. Come closer. Rest here. We've been sinking since the beginning. Because the heart is not only an organ. It's a refuge. A place where memory sleeps and wakes again. A place where the first beat still echoes. A place where love begins, not in words, but in waves. And so we wander now into the sonic forest, the sacred space where music meets biology, where melody and heartbeat are not strangers, but twins separated only by silence. Have you ever noticed how your favorite song seems to know you? How it finds the rhythm of your breath, the tempo of your mood, the cadence of your memories? That's not just nostalgia, it's resonance. Your heart has a tempo, and music, when aligned just right, steps into that pulse like a friend walking beside you. Research shows that your heartbeat can synchronize to external rhythms. Slow, soft music can lower your heart rate. Fast, intense music can elevate it. But the most fascinating thing is how the body chooses what it resonates with. A gentle piano piece might slow your pulse into stillness, but for someone else, a familiar lullaby or even a steady drumbeat might offer the same regulation. Your heart doesn't just respond to sound. It remembers it, associates it, stores it. That's why a love song from years ago can suddenly stir your chest with emotion. Why hearing the music your parent once hummed while making tea can bring tears you didn't expect. The heart is an archivist. It keeps its own record collection, one that plays not on vinyl but in vascular vibration. Every note a nerve, every rhythm a story. Have you ever cried while listening to a song and not known why? That's your heart recognizing itself in sound. That's your nervous system exhaling. That's your inner child, your inner elder, your silent memories rising to the surface, dancing gently for a moment, then disappearing again. Music is a bridge. It walks across hemispheres of the brain, lights up the emotional centers, triggers oxytocin, lowers cortisol. This medicine, ancient and modern. And when you sing, it's not just expression. It's calibration. Singing regulates breath, and regulated breath regulates heart rhythm. Chanting, humming, whispering lullabies, all of these soften the sympathetic nervous system and strengthen the parasympathetic. In short, they calm you, deeply, powerfully, mechanically. This is why cultures around the world have used song as part of healing for thousands of years. Why mothers sing to babies. Why soldiers hum to themselves. Why we sing at weddings and funerals, at celebrations and in heartbreak. Because when words fail, rhythm remains. When thought stumbles, the heart sings. Even grief has a frequency, and music meets it. So the next time you feel anxious or lost, try this hum. Sing softly to yourself. Let your own voice cradle your chest. You're not performing. You're realigning. You're calling your scattered energy back into your center. You're reminding your heart of its own rhythm, of the safety it once knew before the world got loud. Now take this in, your heart doesn't just beat for you. It beats with you. It listens to your laughter. It recoils at your pain, pulses through your art. It slows in stillness and dances in delight. And when you place your hand over it, right now, if you want, you are not just touching flesh. You are touching memory, ancestry, resilience. You are holding a lifetime of rhythms. Yours, your parents, your ancestors. You are holding a continuity that has never broken, even when you have. That's the miracle. The heart doesn't need you to be whole to continue. It just needs you to stay. So breathe now slowly. Let your ribcage open like a window. Feel that pulse in your wrist, in your throat, in your chest. Feel it say, I'm still here. Even after everything. Still here. So let's step now into the quieter shadows. Into the unseen places where emotion leaves fingerprints on the heart's rhythm. Where the invisible becomes physical. Where every sorrow has a pulse and every joy a wave. Because what we often forget is that the heart doesn't just react to emotion. It stores it. The body remembers what the mind buries. And the heart, more than any other organ, holds the echoes of the life you've lived, even the parts you never spoke out loud. Stress is not an abstract concept to the heart. It is weight. It is noise. Chronic stress, especially the kind that simmers without release, causes the body to flood with cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones aren't villains. They were made to help you survive. But in long doses, they wear grooves into the rhythm of your heart. They thicken the walls. They confuse the beat. They make the heart prepare for danger even when danger isn't there. That's why emotional pain can physically ache in the chest. Why heartbreak feels like pressure, tightness, even suffocation. The body doesn't separate emotional pain from physical danger. It responds as if both are a threat. But, and this is so important, just as the heart remembers trauma, it also remembers healing. Have you ever watched someone truly laugh? Eyes closed, shoulders shaking, breath catching in delight, and noticed how their whole body pulses with it? That's not just joy in the mind. That's joy in the blood. Laughter releases nitric oxide, which relaxes blood vessels. It lowers blood pressure, creates real ease, real space. That's why people say laughter is medicine. It is, tangibly. And love, real, nourishing love, also softens the rhythm. Not just romantic love. Any love. Pet curled in your lap. A quiet walk with someone who sees you. A friend's voice at just the right moment. These don't just feel good. They realign you. They bring the heart back to coherence. A state where all the body's rhythms fall into beautiful sync. Heart, breath, brain waves, blood pressure, all flowing together. That's not poetry. That's science. But yes, it's also poetry. Have you ever stood under a sky so quiet that your own heartbeat felt like part of the stars? That too is coherence. That's the body remembering stillness. And the good news is, you can train your heart to return there. Through breath, through song, through stillness, through story, through choosing love even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because the heart isn't just a pump. It's a compass, a guide, and sometimes a mirror. And when the rhythm falters, when anxiety tightens it, when grief slows it, when trauma scatters it, you are not broken. You are human. Your rhythm is not a failure. It's feedback. It's your heart saying, I'm here.
I'm overwhelmed.
Please come sit with me. So sit with it. Place your hand gently on your chest and whisper, if only in your mind, I hear you. I feel you. I'm with you. That's all it asks. And in doing that, you're not just calming your heart. You're honoring every moment it carried you without complaint. Every night it beat while you slept. Every morning it woke you up. Every moment you felt joy or fear or longing. And it didn't stop. It never stopped. Even when you didn't want to keep going. Even when it all felt too much. And as we journey further into the symphony of your chest, into the whispered conversations between your heart and your mind, you'll discover something astonishing. Your heart sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. That's not speculation. That's measurable. Electrical impulses, pressure waves, rhythmic codes. It's all part of a hidden language older than thought, more fluent than logic, and deeply intuitive. Your heart feels before your brain understands. It knows the room before your eyes finish scanning it. It knows the tone before the words are even spoken. And when something feels off, that's not paranoia, it's perception. This is the science behind the gut feeling, the tight chest, the sense of dread before a phone call you weren't expecting. Your body is a living antenna, and your heart is its most sensitive receiver. The heart is surrounded by an intricate network of neurons, over 40,000 of them, forming what's called the heart brain. This mini brain in your chest doesn't just respond to signals. It initiates them. It learns. It remembers. It even makes decisions. That moment when you said yes even though you were afraid, when you turned left instead of right for no reason, when you walked away from someone who never raised their voice but always dimmed your light. That was your heart. That was ancient wisdom dressed in silence. And the beauty is, your heart never demands your attention. It invites it, softly, through a pause, a flutter, a sigh. It's the rhythm you hear when the world goes quiet. The pulse you feel in your fingertips when someone holds your hand a second too long. The hush in the room just before you say, I love you, or I'm sorry, or I need help. Your heart has always been trying to get your attention. Not to impress you, not to prove anything, but to remind you that you are alive, and that being alive is an exquisite, miraculous thing. So many of us move through life thinking our brain is the pilot and our heart is just a passenger. But what if it's the other way around? What if the thoughts we chase are just echoes of deeper truths already held in the chest? What if clarity comes not when we think harder, but when we listen better? And when the world feels loud? When you're scrolling through 1,000 opinions, when everyone seems certain and you're just tired, come back here. To the drum in your ribs, to the compass in your chest, to the pulse that has never once abandoned you. In moments of doubt, place your hand there. Close your eyes, breathe in slowly, and listen not for words, but for rhythm. It may say, you're safe. It may say, rest. It may say, leave, or try again, or simply, you're still here. Because survival is not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes it's a beat, and in that beat is truth. And now, as we sink deeper into the soft rhythm of understanding, let's talk about one of the most remarkable things your heart can do. Change its beat to match someone else's. This is not metaphor. This is resonance. It happens between lovers, between mothers and newborns, between friends sitting in quiet understanding. It even happens between strangers who share a moment of true empathy. This beautiful phenomenon is called entrainment. The heart, when it feels safe and seen, subtly adjusts its rhythm to the presence of another. It begins to beat not in competition, but in harmony. Think about that. Your body, without any instruction, without any effort, seeks connection at the level of pulse. This is why certain hugs feel like coming home. Why sitting in silence with someone can sometimes feel louder than words. The heart knows that safety isn't always about protection. It's about presence. It's about feeling felt. And when you feel that, truly your heart shifts. The electrical patterns in your chest become more ordered, more coherent, more peaceful. And peace doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean every part of your life is settled. It simply means that, in this moment, your body isn't fighting itself. That your systems are not out of sync, that your breath flows without resistance, your mind softens, and your heart, your beautiful, tireless heart, finds rhythm in stillness again. But what happens when that rhythm is broken? When we lose someone we love, whether to death, distance, or silence, the heart doesn't just ache metaphorically. It stumbles. The beat can become irregular, erratic. There's a condition known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, often called broken heart syndrome. It mimics a heart attack but is caused by emotional shock. That's how powerful emotion is, how deeply the heart listens. It responds to joy, yes, but also to loss. And yet, it recovers. Given time, kindness, rest, and connection, the heart remembers how to beat evenly again. It may never be the same, but it becomes something new, wiser, stronger, more tender, like scar tissue that still holds warmth, like a song you can only sing after surviving the silence. And maybe that's the most miraculous part of all. Not that the heart can break, but that it can keep loving anyway, that it dares to open again, that it flutters when it sees a smile, even after everything it's endured, that it trusts the rhythm will return, that the story isn't over, because love isn't a one-time event. It's a pattern, a pulse, a wave that echoes long after the moment has passed. So as you sit here now, perhaps under a blanket, perhaps near sleep, perhaps wondering what your own heart carries, know this: your heartbeat is not just yours. It's inherited, it's shared, it's shaped by everything you've lived and everyone you've loved. Every beat is a page in the book of you, a book that is still being written. And tonight you've paused to read one of those pages, to listen, to feel, to return to the rhythm. And if you place your hand gently over your chest now, and breathe, just breathe, you might begin to feel it. That soft, unending rhythm. That pulse that has accompanied you since before you even knew yourself. It's there, not just keeping you alive, but reminding you, moment after moment, that you are alive. And that's not a small thing. That's everything. Because long before you had words, you had a heartbeat. Long before you could form thoughts or tell stories, your body knew rhythm. It danced to it in the womb, synchronized with your mother's heart like a duet in the dark. And even now, when the world feels heavy, when the noise outside drowns out the voice within, your heart stays faithful, steady, waiting, beating. You see, the heart doesn't only beat for survival. It beats for memory, for love, for meaning. It beats when you laugh so hard you forget the world. It beats when you're nervous before a first kiss. It beats faster when you hear bad news, slower when you're held by someone safe. It races when you run, yes, but also when you care, when you feel, when you live. And over time, your heart learns. It adapts. It remembers, not just through muscle, but through message. Every stressful moment you've endured, every joyful one too, leaves an imprint. Tiny adjustments in rhythm, in frequency, in tone. That's why two hearts exposed to very different lives, very different environments, will beat differently, even if they belong to twins. Because your heart is not just a clock. It's a journal, a storyteller, a mirror, and sometimes it gets tired. When you're heartbroken, it's not just an expression. There's science behind it. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the part that calms you, is overwhelmed. Your cortisol spikes. Your chest literally aches. That heaviness is real. But so is healing. Because slowly, breath by breath, your heart can learn to beat evenly again. Not forget, but forgive. Not erase, but expand. In those quiet moments when you're resting, truly resting, not scrolling, not planning, not rushing, your heart enters a state of coherence. It's like harmony in an orchestra. Everything aligns. Brain waves, breathing patterns, and heartbeat move together. This state doesn't just feel good, it helps heal. It strengthens immunity, lowers blood pressure, improves sleep, all from simply letting your heart breathe without interruption. That's the secret, isn't it? That healing doesn't come from doing, comes from allowing. Allowing stillness, allowing rhythm, allowing your heart to be heard. So tonight, or whenever you find this story, may you let yourself soften. Let your breath deepen. Let your heartbeat rise to the surface, not as noise, but as a guide. Let it remind you of all you've survived. Let it invite you to rest, not because you've earned it, but because you're worthy of it. You always were. And when morning comes, your heart will still be there, ready to accompany you through another day, another chance, another rhythm waiting to be written. Because the heart does not need certainty. It just needs presence. And tonight you gave it that. You showed up. You listened. You remembered the sound of your own becoming. And as you drift, whether toward dreams or just into deeper stillness, let this truth settle into your bones. The heart is not just an organ. It is a place, a dwelling, a lantern that never truly extinguishes, even in your quietest hours. It holds the echoes of your first cry and the hush of your deepest sighs. It holds your courage even when you don't feel brave. It holds your tenderness, even when the world asks you to harden. And in this place, where pulse becomes presence, you can finally exhale. Because the heart does not rush. It does not demand. It only gives. Steady. Simple. Sincere. It beats not for applause, not for perfection, but because life continues, and it wants you here for it. It wants you to witness a sunrise without rushing past it. To hear someone's voice and really listen. To touch a tree, or a hand, or your own chest and feel. To remember what aliveness is, not as performance, but as presence. This rhythm, this sacred thump beneath your ribs, is your first language. You may have forgotten it, but it has never forgotten you. It's spoken through every moment of heartbreak you've endured and healed from. Through every joy that took your breath and gave it right back. Through every quiet victory no one else saw but your heart did. Kept time with you through all of it. And it asks so little in return. Just that you rest. Just that you listen sometimes. Just that you trust it enough to let go, even for a night. So as this story slows, let your shoulders drop. Let your body melt into where you are. Let your mind wander, but gently. Not chasing, not forcing. Just drifting, like a leaf on a stream. The heart will carry you if you let it. Let this be your reminder. Even in the quiet, even in the stillness, something ancient and brilliant is moving inside you. Not asking for permission, just being. And that is enough. You are enough. You always were. Now sleep or simply rest. The rhythm will remain. The story will continue. And your heart will keep time. Not with urgency, but with grace. Because even when the world feels like it's speeding up, your heart knows how to slow down. And that might just be your superpower. And deeper still we go, into the quiet mechanics that somehow feel like magic. Imagine it now. Nestled within your chest, the heart doesn't need permission to beat. It doesn't wait for you to notice. It doesn't require conscious thought. It simply knows. A network of pacemaker cells, tiny conductors of your internal orchestra, sends signals that ripple through muscle, timing every contraction like the rise and fall of gentle waves. This is the sinoatrial node, often called the heart's natural pacemaker. A cluster no bigger than a lentil, yet it governs the very tempo of your life. Each impulse flows like lightning through invisible threads, from the atria down into the ventricles, telling your heart when to squeeze, when to rest, when to wait, when to push forward. It's all electricity and timing. And yet, to the outside world, it sounds like poetry. Lube-dub, lube-dub, lube-dub. A lifelong lullaby. But even this clock can dance. Emotions tug on the wires. When you're afraid, adrenaline surges, and the beat quickens. When you're calm, parasympathetic waves ease it into a slow rhythm. And between each beat, your body listens. Your brain adjusts. Your blood flows. Your breath responds. All of you in silent choreography. The rhythm is not static. It's personal. It tells a story about where you've been, what you've felt, how you've survived. Doctors can read this language in an ECG. Peaks and valleys like mountain ranges in ink. But what's harder to measure and more important to feel is how the heart becomes a mirror for your life. In love, the heart flutters. In grief, it falters. In awe, it pauses. In rage, it pounds. It doesn't speak in words, but in pulses. It doesn't explain, it responds. Even now, as you listen, maybe with headphones on in the dark or from beneath a soft blanket, your heart is translating these words into feeling, into breath, into presence. Think of how many hearts are beating right now in other rooms, other cities, other time zones. Each one with a story. Each one with a rhythm that means something to someone. And among them, yours soft, steady here. So let yourself soften with it. Let go of the idea that you must do to be worthy, that you must race to keep up, that you must fix everything by morning. The heart asks none of this. It only asks that you stay. Stay connected. Stay curious. Stay open to the quiet things that matter. Because in the end, long after your name is forgotten, the rhythm will remain. Passed on through children, through stories, through the echoes you leave behind. You are not a machine. You are a symphony, a rhythm born in silence, moving through time. Let your next breath be a note. Let your next thought be lighter. Let your heart remind you that you are already whole. And now, let's drift back to the very beginning, not of your memories but of your formation. Long before you had thoughts or language or a sense of time. Long before you could speak or blink or cry. Even before your fingers had formed or your lungs had opened. There was a heartbeat. A flicker. A thrum. At just 22 days after conception, in the quiet darkness of the womb, your heart began to beat. No mind. No words. Just rhythm. You were not yet breathing air. You had never seen light. But already something within you had chosen motion. Had chosen life. That earliest beat was not loud. It did not announce itself. It simply began softly, as if life had whispered, "It's time." And from that moment on, your heart has never stopped. Not once. Even in your deepest sleep. Even in your most uncertain hour. Even when your mind was lost in sorrow or your hands were shaking with fear, your heart continued. Loyal. Tireless. Quietly holding you through everything. It is humbling, isn't it? To realize that while we spend so much of life worrying, striving, analyzing, this part of us simply is. It has no ego, no doubt. It doesn't question its purpose. It just offers its pulse, again and again, like a mantra, like a promise. Even now, as you read this, perhaps curled up, perhaps fading towards sleep, your heart is beside you. It doesn't ask you to understand it, only to trust it, to soften into its rhythm. And there is a sacred rhythm to this story, because the heart is not just an organ. It is a drum of remembrance, a compass for emotion, a record keeper of everything you've survived. Did you know that trauma can shift your heartbeat? That joy can sync it with someone else's? That a hug, a genuine, lingering hug, can bring two hearts into harmony? There's something almost magical in that. Two people, two histories, two entire lifetimes of stories and scars. And yet, for a moment, one rhythm, one beat, one shared breath. This is why presence matters. This is why kindness ripples. Because your heart is not isolated, it's relational. It listens, it mirrors, it responds. And in some way that science still doesn't fully explain, it remembers. You may forget the face of someone you once loved, but your heart won't. It will still race at the memory, or ache, or soften, or tremble, because the heart does not measure time in minutes. It measures in meaning, in significance, in moments that changed you even quietly, even when no one else knew. So tonight, let your heart be seen, not by anyone else, just by you, not as a function but as a friend, a quiet companion that has never left you, never abandoned you, even when you abandoned yourself. Let that sink in. Your heart stayed, your whole life, without applause, without rest, without resentment, stayed. And so we arrive at the space between the beats, the quiet pause that holds everything together. Just like the silence between notes gives music its shape, the stillness between your heart's contractions gives rhythm its grace. It's in that pause, however brief, where your breath can meet your heartbeat. And when they meet, something remarkable happens. This meeting is not just poetic, it's physiological. Your breath and your heart are in constant dialogue, speaking a language older than language itself. Every inhale nudges your heart to beat just a little faster. Every exhale gently slows it down. It's called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, a natural, healthy variation in heart rate that mirrors the flow of your breathing. Inhale, expand. Exhale, release. This dance happens without instruction, yet when we become aware of it, when we breathe in rhythm consciously, the heart settles into coherence. Coherence is not simply calm. It's a state of synchronization, where your heartbeat pattern becomes smooth, even, harmonious. Science can measure it, and yet its effect feels ancient, restorative, like remembering a song you always knew but had forgotten how to hum. Ancient traditions knew this long before EKG machines did. Yogis who sat cross-legged beneath the stars, monks who chanted in deep caves, grandmothers who hummed lullabies while rocking newborns. Each of them was tapping into the same wisdom, that when the breath slows, the heart listens. Try it now if you like. Gently. No force. Inhale, 4 counts. Hold just a moment. Exhale, 6 counts. Repeat. As you do this, the muscles in your chest soften. Your thoughts begin to dissolve like mist, and your heart begins to smooth its rhythm. Thanks you in silence. Because every conscious breath is a love letter to your nervous system. Every slow exhale is a gift of stillness in a world that rarely pauses. This is why humming helps. Why singing in the shower, or whispering to a pet, or sighing deeply can shift your mood. The vagus nerve. A long wandering thread that connects your brain to your heart, your lungs, your gut, is activated by sound, by vibration, and when it's stimulated gently, it sends messages of safety, of calm, of "you're okay now." That's the whisper the heart has been waiting for. You're okay now. So maybe tonight you'll hum a little before sleep. Maybe you'll breathe like the ocean. In, out, in, out. Maybe you'll remember that the heart is not just a pump. It's a poem, a story still unfolding, and it listens to how you treat yourself. You don't need to be perfect for your heart to love you. You don't need to be productive for it to show up. You don't need to earn rest. Your heart beats just as kindly when you're still. So rest, not because you've done enough, but because you are enough. Your heart, this tireless, wordless companion, has already said so. And now we wander into the territory where science starts to whisper, where emotion becomes not just a feeling but a frequency. Because the heart is more than muscle, it is memory. And not just metaphorically. Research has shown that your heart carries its own form of intelligence. A complex network of neurons, more than 40,000 of them, that allow it to process information, make decisions, and yes, remember. This is why your chest tightens when you're about to cry. Why your heart races before a first kiss. Why grief feels like pressure behind your ribs, a heaviness that no aspirin can touch. Your heart isn't just listening to your emotions. It's having them, feeling them, speaking them in beats and pulses, in rhythms only your body can fully understand. And what's even more profound is this: the heart communicates more to the brain than the brain does to the heart. Imagine that. The very thing you thought was merely pumping blood is actually leading the conversation, guiding, nudging, quietly saying, "Slow down," or "This is joy," or sometimes, "This isn't safe." This is why heartbreak is real. Not just in song lyrics or sad movies, but physiologically. After deep emotional pain, the heart's rhythm changes. The space between beats becomes jagged, irregular. It's called broken heart syndrome, and it can mimic a heart attack. Your chest doesn't know the difference between losing love and losing oxygen. It grieves with your whole being. And yet, it heals. With time, with breath, with presence. Because the heart is the most forgiving organ you have. It doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't punish you for the past. It just beats, and beats, and beats, waiting for you to return to yourself. Have you ever noticed how being near someone calm makes your own body slow down? That's the heart, again. It syncs. It mirrors. Your electromagnetic field, yes, your heart creates one, extends several feet from your body. It's not energy in the mystical sense, but in the measurable scientific one. The field your heart creates can be detected by another human being. This is why hugs matter. Why being held matters. Why words spoken with care matter. Because your heart is listening to the world. To tone, to touch, to intention. And so, it remembers the softness of a parent's voice, the fear of a slammed door, the flutter of a first, "I love you," the ache of a goodbye that came too soon. These memories aren't stored just in the mind. They live in the cadence of your cardiac rhythm, in how you respond to silence, to warmth, to closeness. And here's the hope buried in all of this. Your heart can rewrite its story, not by forgetting but by feeling again safely, by sitting in stillness and letting old rhythms shift, by placing your hand on your chest and whispering, "I'm listening now." That's where healing begins. Not by force, not by logic, but by rhythm, by returning to the beat that began before you knew what pain was, the beat that was always yours. So tonight, let yourself be held by your own heartbeat. Let it remind you of what's always been steady, even when everything else felt uncertain. Then let us end here softly, with no dramatic crescendo, no sharp edge of conclusion, but with the kind of hush that comes at the close of a lullaby. The kind that lets you feel your own heartbeat again. The kind that reminds you, you are alive. And that is already enough. Tonight, as you rest, your heart will go on quietly doing what it's always done. Not because it's commanded to, but because it chooses to. Every pulse a whisper. Every rhythm a reminder. You were built for connection, for resilience, for tenderness. So close your eyes now, if they haven't already begun to drift. Let your breath return to its own quiet rhythm. Let your chest rise and fall like a tide that knows exactly when to come home. And as you sleep, your heart will keep its promise. Beat by beat, softly, steadily, unfailingly, because the rhythm of the heart is the rhythm of you. Good night, dear listener. And may your dreams pulse gently with wonder, with warmth, with rhythm. Until next time.